guys, it's Yanni here. Today's video I'm going to tell you everything that I learned when I was traveling Cuba. So first, and probably one of the most important things that you should know about when traveling Cuba is their currency. They have two types of currency, which is the CUC and the CUP. CUC is equivalent to US dollars and CUP is their local currency. So one CUC is equivalent to 25.75 CUP. So just keep in mind that when you're shopping everywhere in Cuba, if it requires CUP, then you just gotta have to do the math. And you just gotta have to be smart in math because there's actually no Wi-Fi connection in Cuba, which we'll talk more about later, so you can't access any Google conversion unless you have a conversion app on your iPhone. Also, one thing you should know about as well is if you are a tourist, you are automatically charged CUC in most places. So it is very smart to have a local guide, or if you speak a little bit of Spanish, it helps as well, and just pretend yourself that you are a Cuban.
Libre? No. Sí, sí, libre. Free, free, free. Free.
¿Cómo se llama?
Alfredo.
Alfredo.
Sí.
Sí. Yanni.
Okay, Yanni.
Yanni.
So right after our plane landed, the very first thing that we did is we looked for an ATM and we drew cash. Because we drew in Cuban money, you can always do this in Cuba. Luckily, there's a mini bank or an ATM. It's not really an ATM, but I wouldn't call it a bank as well. So I would just say a mini bank where there's probably 3 tellers right outside the airport. Probably Terminal 3, if I'm not mistaken. I know one of them doesn't have the tellers because my friend had to go to the other terminal to withdraw cash. Literally, it's just 3 windows with 3 people inside giving out, exchanging money. So after we got the money, we hopped on the cab and we drove to our Airbnb. Decided to take the taxi because we didn't want to risk it taking the local transit because we didn't know how to get there. And you'll probably notice right away that people want to grab your attention because they want to fight for your money. So you'll see right outside the airport, there's a lot of people try to grab you, try to convince you to take their taxi, and my only tip is always bargain. So even though you have a lot of options because there's a lot of people trying to grab your attention, feel free to shop around, ask around, and most likely their prices are about similar anyway, so don't be scared to bargain. So we decided to stay right at the heart of Havana, and once you get to your Airbnb, you'll notice right away that their houses have very high, steep stairs. Now this is normal in Cuba, so don't be scared. You just gotta have to climb up the stairs with your suitcases like what we did. It was brutal. And we decided to book an Airbnb that is on the rooftop, so we had to climb 3 flights of stairs because the building that we stayed at was 3-floor apartment type building. So there's the first floor. After the first flight of stairs, there's the first floor, somebody was renting it, and there's another floor, and then finally the rooftop, which was nice in the end because we get a very nice view. Most Airbnb in Cuba offer breakfast. Now it's literally called bed and breakfast. So if your Airbnb offers breakfast, I highly recommend taking advantage of that because our Airbnb offered breakfast and they definitely cooked a lot of good breakfast. The breakfast could range from $5 to $15. Ours was only $5, luckily, and it was a very good breakfast as well. One more thing about Airbnb is don't bother asking for Wi-Fi because none of them have Wi-Fi. It's very rare to have a Wi-Fi access in a house in Cuba. So if you're shopping for Airbnb in Havana or anywhere in Cuba, forget about Wi-Fi. Just be Wi-Fi free for a week or however long you're staying in Havana. If you really want Wi-Fi access, there's a lot of parks around Havana where there's Wi-Fi access, and the only way to connect to the Wi-Fi is you have to buy the card. And whenever you see a store that has a long lineup, that's usually the store where you can buy the card. So the first thing that I asked myself when I decided to travel to Cuba is safety. Now, there's just a lot of misconception about Cuba, and I think there's a lot of rumors of what Cuba is like, being a communist country. However, when I got there and lived there for, I think, a week and a half, I would say it's actually one of the best, safest country I've ever lived in. The streets might seem sketchy because it's not really well lit. It's very dim in some places, and you just see like a lot of cobblestone. It's actually very safe. Honestly, it's very safe. Fun fact, we were walking home from the club at 2 a.m. and we were all drunk and we were just still partying in our minds, and we were like shouting on the streets. I wouldn't suggest, but we did, and we felt safe, and we got home to our Airbnb safe. And we've been doing that every single night since we got there. We're coming home at 2 a.m. partying. Tip number 5 is getting around Cuba. So most of the time we just walked around Havana. We just literally walked. Since we live downtown, everything was walking distance for us, most of the tourist spots. However, there's definitely spots that you should check out that is not in the downtown core. So to get there, I wouldn't suggest taking the local bus. However, there's a lot of transportation services that I think are better than taking the bus and would definitely save you a lot of time. So one of them is the Bixi taxi. They call it the Bixi taxi. It's just a motorcycle that could probably fit 2 to 3 people, and these taxis will take you to 4 or 5 tourist spots around Havana. So for us, it took us to this art outdoor museum. It took us to the University of Havana, the engineering of Havana, and it was very worth it. I think we paid $15 CUC. Like I said, don't forget about CUP. If you're a tourist, they're gonna charge you CUC. Next is the convertibles. These are the Instagram worthy. You'll see this all over Instagram, and these are the convertibles that are very cute. And you'll see there's a lot of different colors of convertibles in Havana. There are polka dots, there are pink ones. We chose the pink one because obviously we're extras. My friends and I are extra. And it's the exact same deal as the Bixi taxi. It will take you to all the tourist spots. Some of them actually carries a lot of brochures and posters, and in the posters it will show you which spot they will take you to. Again, shop around because there's a lot of them, especially in central Havana. If you go to the Central Park in Havana, you'll see all of them circling the central square. The sixth observation that I noticed when I was in Havana is there's a lot of culture in Havana, especially African culture. There's a lot of African arts, there's a lot of Afro music, and Cubans love music. There's a lot of musicians in Cuba, and I'm not just talking about guitar singing type of music. I'm talking about like trumpet, saxophone, like brass instruments. Next is filming. So since I'm a YouTuber, since I produce videos online, I was definitely gonna document this. One of my questions was, since it's a communist country, I've heard rumors that you're not allowed to film, you're not allowed, journalism is not allowed from other countries, and that definitely scared. And I was not about to put this travel to waste, so I definitely wanted to vlog it. So I was very discreet at first, not showing my camera, and luckily my camera is not that big anyway. I'm only using the mirrorless camera from Canon, and nobody really asked me, no police stopped me. I was even vlogging right in front of them. So in conclusion, I think filming is safe. That's all I'm gonna say about it. However, no drones allowed. So if you go to some parks, you'll actually see a lot of signs that says drone bar. So you cannot fly drone in Havana. So the 8th tip or observation or whatever this is now, because I don't know at this point anymore what I've been saying, is try to explore town outside of Havana. So we were fortunate enough to be able to explore the town called Trinidad. Trinidad is about 5 hours outside of Havana. We drove about 5 hours and we just rented a car. Our Airbnb actually helped us rent this car. So most Airbnb as well are connected with all other services in the city. And if you want to follow what I did, I highly recommend visiting Trinidad. Trinidad is such a nice small town, and it's actually a very touristy town. There's a lot of tourists there as well. It's one of the tourist destinations. So I'm just gonna tell you quickly the things that we did in Trinidad. I don't think it's worth it to make a whole new video for Trinidad, but we went to the waterfall. We rode the horse for I think 2 to 3 hours to get to the waterfalls, and 20-minute walking to the waterfall. And we checked out the cave that has a party in it. Literally, it's a club inside a cave. And it's so cool because every time you're dancing and you're talking, laughing and drinking, and every time you look up, you see all those cave rocks forming. And the last and final tip is have fun. Once in a while, if you can, try to travel to a country that you've never been to before, and to a country that you actually will not understand their language. I just want to end this video by sharing a quote from Trevor Noah. He actually said that if there's one thing that you will never waste your money on, it'd be traveling. Traveling is the antidote of ignorance. It changes your mind, your perspective, how you believe, what you believe. Go to a place where they don't speak your language just to make you realize how insignificant you really are. You're not that important. The world doesn't revolve around you. In short, you're not the center of the universe. So there you have it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it's very helpful. I just wanted to share it out there because going to Cuba, I had a lot of perspective, and there's a lot of things that I didn't know about, and there's only so much Googling you can do, and the internet pretty much blocked everything about Cuba as well, being a communist country. So there's a lot of misconception about Cuba, and going there, that definitely changed everything. It changed my mind all about Cuba. I would go back there in a heartbeat. So there you have it. Enjoy and have fun traveling. Bye!